Question 1. When evaluating a situation where a commercial vehicle's electronic stability control ESC system warning light illuminates during a pre-trip inspection, what is the most appropriate and legally compliant course of action for the driver? Option A. Continue driving the vehicle, assuming the ESC is not essential for normal operation and can be addressed later. Option B. Report the ESC malfunction to the motor carrier only after the current trip is completed. Option C. Immediately report the ESC malfunction to the motor carrier and take the vehicle out of service until it is repaired. Option D. Attempt to reset the ESC system by turning the vehicle off and on again, and if the light remains on, ignore it. Correct answer is C. Immediately report the ESC malfunction to the motor carrier and take the vehicle out of service until it is repaired. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a commercial driver to make a critical judgment call regarding the functionality of a safety-critical system ESC in real time, under potentially adverse driving conditions. The driver must balance the immediate need to operate the vehicle safely with the responsibility of ensuring all safety systems are functioning as intended, as mandated by federal regulations. Misjudging the situation could lead to an accident or a violation of safety regulations. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach is to immediately report the ESC malfunction to the motor carrier and take the vehicle out of service until it is repaired. This represents best professional practice because it directly adheres to the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, FMCSR, concerning vehicle maintenance and inspection. Specifically, Part 396 of the FMCSR requires drivers to inspect their vehicles before each trip and report any defects or deficiencies that could affect safety. A malfunctioning ESC is a safety-critical defect. By reporting the issue and removing the vehicle from service, the driver fulfills their legal obligation to ensure the vehicle is safe to operate and prevents potential harm to themselves, other road users, and property. This proactive approach prioritizes safety and regulatory compliance above all else. Incorrect approach is analysis. One incorrect approach is to continue driving the vehicle, assuming the ESC is not essential for normal operation. This is a regulatory failure because it violates FMCSR Part 396, which mandates the reporting and correction of all safety-related defects. Ethically, it demonstrates a disregard for the safety of others. Another incorrect approach is to attempt a quick fix or ignore the warning light, believing it might be a temporary glitch. This is also a regulatory failure under Part 396 and demonstrates a lack of professional responsibility. The FMCSR do not permit drivers to self-diagnose or ignore critical system warnings. A further incorrect approach is to only report the issue after the trip is completed. This is a regulatory failure as it delays the necessary repair of a safety-critical system, potentially exposing the driver and others to risk during the remainder of the trip, and violates the spirit of immediate reporting for safety defects. Professional reasoning. Professionals in commercial driving must adopt a safety-first mindset, grounded in a thorough understanding of FMCSR. When faced with a vehicle malfunction, especially one involving a safety system like ESC, the decision-making process should be: 1. Recognize the potential safety implication of the malfunction. 2. Consult pre-trip inspection requirements and FMCSR regarding vehicle defects. 3. Prioritize reporting the defect immediately to the appropriate personnel motor carrier. 4. Follow established procedures for taking the vehicle out of service until repairs are confirmed. This systematic approach ensures both regulatory compliance and the highest level of safety. Question 2. Process analysis reveals that a commercial driver is approaching a steep downhill grade with a heavy load. The driver is currently maintaining a safe speed. What is the most appropriate gear selection strategy to ensure safe descent and vehicle control? Option A. Shift into neutral to allow the vehicle to coast freely. Option B. Maintain the current gear as the speed is currently safe. Option C. Downshift to a lower gear to utilize engine braking and control speed. Option D. Select a higher gear to allow for faster acceleration if needed. Correct answer is C. Downshift to a lower gear to utilize engine braking and control speed. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario is professionally challenging because selecting the correct gear in a commercial vehicle is a dynamic decision influenced by multiple real-time factors. Overlooking any of these factors, such as the vehicle's load, the steepness of the grade, and the current speed, can lead to unsafe driving conditions, increased wear and tear on the vehicle, and potential regulatory violations. The driver must constantly assess and adapt their gear selection to maintain control and efficiency. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves downshifting to a lower gear when descending a steep grade, regardless of speed, to utilize engine braking. This is best professional practice because it directly aligns with the principles of safe vehicle operation and maintenance, as outlined in the Commercial Driver's License, CDL, General Knowledge Regulations. Engine braking helps control the vehicle's speed without relying solely on service brakes, preventing brake fade and reducing the risk of losing control. This proactive measure conserves brake life and ensures the vehicle can be stopped safely when needed. Incorrect approaches analysis. Selecting a higher gear when descending a steep grade, even if the speed is currently manageable, is a regulatory failure. It neglects the fundamental principle of using engine braking to control descent speed, leading to excessive reliance on service brakes, which can overheat and fail, brake fade. This increases the risk of an accident and violates the implicit requirement for safe operation. Maintaining the same gear as on level ground when descending a steep grade, even if the speed is initially controlled, is also a failure. This approach does not account for the increasing force of gravity on a downhill slope. Without downshifting, the vehicle will accelerate beyond safe control limits, necessitating harsh braking and increasing the likelihood of brake failure and loss of control, which is a direct contravention of safe driving practices. Shifting into neutral when descending a steep grade is a critical regulatory and ethical failure. This completely disengages the engine from the drivetrain, eliminating all engine braking capabilities. The vehicle will accelerate uncontrollably, and the driver will have to rely entirely on service brakes, which are highly likely to overheat and fail on a steep descent, leading to a catastrophic loss of control and a high probability of severe accidents. This is a direct violation of safe driving principles and could result in severe legal and ethical consequences. Professional reasoning. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that prioritizes safety and vehicle control. This involves a continuous assessment of the driving environment, including road conditions, uphills, downhills, curves, vehicle load, and current speed. For descents, the primary consideration should be maintaining a safe, controlled speed using engine braking. This requires anticipating the need to downshift before the vehicle gains excessive speed. Drivers should be familiar with their vehicle's capabilities and the principles of engine braking, as taught in CDL training. When in doubt, err on the side of caution by selecting a lower gear. Question 3. The evaluation methodology shows that a commercial driver is operating their vehicle on a highway at 60 mph during a light rain shower. Which of the following best describes the appropriate action for maintaining a safe following distance? Option A. Decrease the following distance to 2 seconds to improve fuel efficiency by reducing aerodynamic drag. Option B. Increase the following distance to at least 6 seconds to account for reduced traction and increase stopping distances. Option C. Maintain the standard 3-second following distance, as light rain does not significantly impact stopping ability. Option D. Rely on the following distance of the vehicle directly in front of them, assuming they are maintaining a safe gap. Correct answer is B. Increase the following distance to at least 6 seconds to account for reduced traction and increase stopping distances. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge for commercial drivers, maintaining adequate following distance in varying traffic and weather conditions. The professional challenge lies in the dynamic nature of driving, where immediate decisions must be made based on a combination of observed condition, vehicle capabilities, and regulatory requirements. Overestimating or underestimating safe following distance can lead to severe consequences, including collisions, property damage, and injury or fatality. Careful judgment is required to balance efficient travel with paramount safety. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach emphasizes a proactive and adaptable strategy for maintaining following distance. This aligns directly with the principles of safe driving practices mandated by the Commercial Driver's License, CDL, General Knowledge Regulations. Specifically, the 3-second rule is a foundational concept, but the regulations also stress the importance of increasing this distance under adverse conditions such as rain, fog, snow, ice, or when following large vehicles or vehicles carrying hazardous materials. This approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes safety by providing a sufficient buffer to react to unexpected events, brake safely, and avoid collisions, thereby fulfilling the driver's legal and ethical obligation to operate their vehicle responsibly. Incorrect approach is analysis, an approach that relies solely on a fixed, short following distance, regardless of speed or condition, is a direct violation of safe driving principles and likely regulatory guidance. This demonstrates a failure to adapt to the environment and a disregard for the increased stopping distances required at higher speeds or on slippery surfaces. Ethically, it places other road users at undue risk. An approach that prioritizes speed and minimizing travel time over maintaining a safe following distance is fundamentally flawed. This indicates a disregard for the regulations that prioritize safety and a potential for aggressive driving behavior. Such an approach is professionally unacceptable as it prioritizes personal convenience over the safety of oneself and others. An approach that assumes other drivers will always react predictably or leave adequate space is also a critical failure. Driving is inherently unpredictable, and a professional driver must anticipate potential hazards and maintain a buffer that accounts for the actions of others, not just their own. This demonstrates a lack of defensive driving skills and a failure to adhere to the principle of maintaining control of one's own vehicle and its immediate surroundings. Professional reasoning. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with understanding and internalizing the regulatory requirements for following distance. This involves recognizing the baseline 3-second rule and then actively assessing real-time conditions, speed, weather, road surface, traffic density, vehicle type, to determine the appropriate adjustment. A mental checklist should be used. What is my current speed? What are the road conditions? What is the visibility? What am I following? Based on this assessment, the driver should consciously increase their following distance beyond the minimum to ensure a safe margin. This proactive, condition-based adjustment is the hallmark of professional and safe commercial driving. Question 4. Quality control measures reveal that a commercial motor vehicle's hazard lights have ceased to function during a pre-trip inspection. The driver is scheduled to depart on a long-haul route that includes driving through a busy metropolitan area during peak traffic hours and potentially encountering adverse weather conditions. What is the most appropriate course of action for the driver to ensure compliance with Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, FMCSR, and maintain operational safety? Option A. Cease all operations and immediately arrange for the hazard lights to be repaired before commencing the trip. Option B. Attempt a temporary fix for the hazard lights using available tools and materials, and then proceed with the trip if the fix appears successful. Option C. Proceed with the trip, using turn signals more frequently and relying on brake lights to compensate for the lack of hazard lights. Option D. Continue the trip but inform dispatch that the hazard lights are not working, allowing dispatch to decide if the trip can proceed. The correct answer is A. Cease all operations and immediately arrange for the hazard lights to be repaired before commencing the trip. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it involves a critical safety communication system that, when malfunctioning, can lead to severe accidents. The driver's responsibility extends beyond simply operating the vehicle to ensuring all safety signaling systems are functional and used correctly. The core of the challenge lies in the driver's immediate need to assess the situation, understand the implications of the malfunction, and take appropriate action to maintain safety and comply with regulations, all while potentially under pressure. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes safety and regulatory compliance. By immediately ceasing operations until the hazard lights are repaired, the driver is preventing potential collisions that could arise from other road users not being aware of the vehicle's presence or intentions, especially in low visibility or high traffic situations. This action directly aligns with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, FMCSR, concerning vehicle safety and the use of signaling devices to warn other drivers. It demonstrates a commitment to the highest ethical standards of professional driving, where the safety of oneself, other motorists, and the public is paramount. An incorrect approach that involves continuing to operate the vehicle without functioning hazard lights is a direct violation of FMCSR. Specifically, it breaches regulations that mandate the use of appropriate signaling devices to ensure safe operation and to warn other traffic. Ethically, this demonstrates negligence and a disregard for the safety of others, potentially leading to accidents and severe consequences. Another incorrect approach, such as attempting a temporary fix without proper knowledge or tools, is also professionally unacceptable. This could lead to further damage or a false sense of security, while still failing to meet the regulatory requirement for fully functional safety equipment. It also bypasses established procedures for vehicle maintenance and repair, which are designed to ensure safety and compliance. The professional reasoning process for a driver in such a situation should involve a systematic approach. First, recognize the malfunction and its safety implications. Second, consult the vehicle's operating manual or company policy for immediate steps. Third, prioritize safety by ceasing operations if the malfunction compromises the ability to signal intentions or warn others. Fourth, report the issue to the appropriate supervisor or maintenance personnel. Fifth, ensure all repairs are conducted by qualified individuals and that the signaling system is fully functional before resuming operations, thereby adhering to all applicable FMCSR and professional ethical obligations. Question 5. Cost-benefit analysis shows that delaying a trip inspection to meet a tight delivery deadline might save time and fuel in the short term, but a driver notices a slight sponginess in the brake pedal during their pre-trip check. What is the most appropriate course of action according to U.S. federal motor carrier safety regulations? Option A. Continue the trip, but be extra cautious with braking, assuming it's a minor issue. Option B. Report the brake pedal feel to the motor carrier and await instructions before proceeding. Option C. Proceed with the trip, as the delivery deadline is more critical than a perceived minor brake issue. Option D. Attempt a quick adjustment to the brake system yourself to see if the sponginess resolves. Correct answer is B. Report the brake pedal feel to the motor carrier and await instructions before proceeding. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a driver to balance immediate operational pressures with the absolute mandate of safety and regulatory compliance. The driver faces a conflict between the perceived urgency of a delivery schedule and the critical need to ensure the vehicle is in safe operating condition. Careful judgment is required to prioritize safety over expediency, as a minor issue overlooked during a trip inspection could lead to a significant safety hazard, costly repairs, and severe legal repercussions. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it directly adheres to the U.S. Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, FMCSR, concerning pre-trip and post-trip inspections. Specifically, 49 CFR Section 396(11) mandates that drivers perform a thorough inspection of their vehicle before each trip. This includes checking critical safety components such as brakes, tires, lights, and steering. By identifying and reporting the potential brake issue, the driver is fulfilling their legal obligation to ensure the vehicle is safe to operate, thereby preventing potential accidents and upholding the highest ethical standards of the profession. This proactive measure is fundamental to preventing roadside breakdowns and ensuring public safety. An incorrect approach that involves ignoring the potential brake issue or downplaying its significance represents a significant regulatory and ethical failure. Ethically, it demonstrates a disregard for the safety of the driver, other road users, and the public. Regulationally, it violates 49 CFR Section 396(11) by failing to conduct a proper pre-trip inspection and by operating a vehicle with a known defect that could compromise safety. This failure can lead to severe penalties for the driver and the motor carrier, including fines, out-of-service orders, and potential liability in the event of an accident. Another incorrect approach, such as attempting a quick, superficial fix without proper diagnosis or authorization, also fails to meet regulatory standards and introduces further risk. It bypasses the established procedures for vehicle maintenance and repair, potentially masking a more serious problem and creating a false sense of security. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a systematic evaluation of the vehicle's condition against the requirements of the FMCSR. Drivers should be trained to recognize potential safety defects and understand the immediate reporting procedures. When a potential issue is identified, the priority must always be to address it according to established safety protocols, which may involve notifying a supervisor, mechanic, or taking the vehicle out of service until it is deemed safe. This process prioritizes safety and compliance, ensuring that operational demands do not override fundamental safety responsibilities. Question 6. The assessment process reveals that a new commercial driver is struggling to achieve smooth gear changes when starting from a stop, often experiencing jerky movements or stalling the engine. During a practical demonstration, the driver consistently releases the clutch pedal too quickly after engaging first gear, without adequate accelerator input. Which of the following actions, if consistently performed, would best address this issue and demonstrate proper clutch operation for safe and efficient vehicle control? Option A. Gradually releasing the clutch pedal while simultaneously applying gentle pressure to the accelerator to find the friction point before fully engaging the gear. Option B. Rapidly releasing the clutch pedal immediately after engaging first gear, assuming the engine will compensate. Option C. Holding the clutch pedal fully depressed for several seconds after engaging first gear before slowly releasing it. Option D. Engaging first gear, and then immediately flooring the accelerator pedal while still holding the clutch pedal down. The correct answer is A. Gradually releasing the clutch pedal while simultaneously applying gentle pressure to the accelerator to find the friction point before fully engaging the gear. Explanation: scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge for new commercial drivers, mastering clutch control for smooth gear engagement. The difficulty lies in coordinating the clutch pedal, accelerator, and gear shifter simultaneously, especially under pressure or in varied driving conditions. Inexperienced drivers may overengage or disengage the clutch, leading to jerky movements, potential drivetrain damage, or stalling, all of which compromise safety and operational efficiency. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a deliberate and controlled release of the clutch pedal while simultaneously applying gentle accelerator pressure. This technique, often referred to as finding the friction point, allows the clutch plates to engage gradually, smoothly transferring power from the engine to the transmission. This method aligns with the principles of safe and efficient vehicle operation mandated by the Commercial Driver's License, CDL, General Knowledge Regulations, which emphasize smooth vehicle control to prevent accidents and maintain vehicle integrity. Proper clutch operation minimizes wear and tear on the transmission and drivetrain components, contributing to the longevity of the vehicle and reducing maintenance costs, a key aspect of professional fleet management. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach is to rapidly release the clutch pedal without sufficient accelerator input. This action will likely cause the engine to stall, interrupting traffic flow and potentially creating a hazardous situation. This demonstrates a failure to understand basic vehicle mechanics and a disregard for safe driving practices, which are fundamental to CDL requirements. Another incorrect approach is to hold the clutch pedal fully depressed for an extended period while attempting to engage the gear. This can lead to excessive wear on the clutch release bearing and other clutch components. Furthermore, it indicates a lack of coordination and an inability to smoothly transition between gears, which is a core competency for CDL holders. This approach also suggests a misunderstanding of how the clutch system is designed to function, potentially leading to premature component failure and violating the principle of responsible vehicle maintenance. A third incorrect approach involves releasing the clutch pedal too quickly after engaging the gear, without allowing sufficient time for the clutch plates to fully engage. This can result in a sudden jolt, potentially damaging the transmission or drivetrain, and can also cause the vehicle to lurch forward unexpectedly. This demonstrates a lack of finesse and control, which is contrary to the expectation of a skilled commercial driver who must operate the vehicle safely and predictably. Professional reasoning. When faced with clutch operation challenges, a professional driver should prioritize understanding the vehicle's mechanical behavior. This involves practicing the coordinated application of clutch and accelerator to identify the friction point. If stalling or jerky movements occur, the driver should not become discouraged, but should instead analyze the cause, perhaps by seeking guidance from an experienced instructor or reviewing training materials. The decision-making process should focus on achieving smooth engagement through controlled movements, recognizing that consistent practice and a methodical approach are key to mastering this skill, thereby ensuring compliance with safety regulations and maintaining the vehicle in good working order. Question 7. The monitoring system demonstrates a large, stationary object partially obscuring the right shoulder of the roadway ahead, with no immediate indication of its nature or if it poses an immediate threat to the lane of travel. What is the most appropriate lane positioning strategy to avoid potential hazards and maintain visibility? Option A. Move to the right lane to get a clearer view of the object on the shoulder. Option B. Move to the left lane to create a buffer and maximize visibility of the object and its surroundings. Option C. Continue at the current speed in the current lane, assuming the object is not an immediate threat. Option D. Maintain the current lane position and reduce speed significantly to observe the object more closely. The correct answer is B. Move to the left lane to create a buffer and maximize visibility of the object and its surroundings. Explanation: this scenario presents a professional challenge because the driver must interpret real-time visual information and make an immediate decision about lane positioning to ensure safety, even when the exact nature of the hazard is not fully clear. The driver's responsibility extends beyond simply operating the vehicle. It includes proactive hazard avoidance and maintaining optimal visibility for themselves and other road users. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a defensive driving strategy. By moving to the left lane, the driver is creating a buffer zone between their vehicle and the potential hazard on the right shoulder. This action maximizes visibility of the hazard and any potential ingress/egress from it, while also providing a clear escape path if the hazard escalates. This aligns with the general principles of safe driving and hazard perception mandated by commercial driver regulations, which emphasize anticipating and mitigating risks. An incorrect approach of maintaining the current lane position and slowing down significantly without changing lanes fails to adequately address the potential hazard. This could lead to a situation where the driver is too close to the hazard if it suddenly becomes a direct threat, or it could impede traffic flow unnecessarily if the hazard is minor or stationary. Ethically, it demonstrates a lack of proactive safety measures. Another incorrect approach of moving to the right lane, if available, would be a critical failure. This would place the driver directly adjacent to or even closer to the hazard on the shoulder, negating the purpose of avoiding it and potentially increasing the risk of collision or being involved in whatever the hazard entails. This directly violates the principle of maintaining a safe distance from potential dangers. The professional decision-making process for similar situations involves a rapid assessment of the situation. Identify the potential hazard, evaluate its proximity and nature, consider available escape routes and traffic conditions, and then execute the safest maneuver. This involves a continuous cycle of observation, anticipation, and action, always prioritizing the creation of space and maintaining visibility. Question 8. Market research demonstrates that many commercial drivers face pressure to maintain tight delivery schedules. You are driving on a highway with a posted speed limit of 65 mph. You encounter a dense fog that significantly reduces visibility to approximately 50 feet. Your dispatch has emphasized the importance of on-time delivery. What is the most professional and legally compliant course of action? Option A. Maintain 65 mph but activate your hazard lights to warn other drivers of your presence. Option B. Reduce your speed significantly below the posted limit to a speed that allows for safe stopping within the visible distance, even if it means being considerably slower than other traffic. Option C. Maintain a speed of 65 mph as this is the posted limit and assume other drivers will exercise caution. Option D. Increase your speed slightly above 65 mph to try and make up for potential delays caused by the fog. The correct answer is C. Maintain a speed of 65 mph as this is the posted limit and assume other drivers will exercise caution. Explanation: this scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a commercial driver to balance the immediate pressure of a schedule with the paramount importance of safety and regulatory compliance. The driver must exercise sound judgment, recognizing that adherence to posted speed limits is not merely a suggestion, but a legal requirement designed to prevent accidents. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes safety and legal obligations above all else. Adhering to posted speed limits, and critically, adjusting speed for adverse conditions such as fog, is a direct mandate of the Commercial Driver's License, CDL, General Knowledge Curriculum. This proactive safety measure aligns with the ethical responsibility of a commercial driver to protect themselves, their cargo, other road users, and the public. It demonstrates a commitment to operating the vehicle in a manner that minimizes risk, even when it might lead to a slight delay. An incorrect approach that involves exceeding the posted speed limit, even slightly, represents a direct violation of federal and state regulations governing commercial vehicle operation. This failure is not only a legal infraction, but also an ethical breach, as it knowingly increases the risk of a crash. Similarly, failing to reduce speed in fog, despite posted limits, demonstrates a disregard for the principle of adjusting speed for conditions, a core tenet of safe driving taught in CDL training. This demonstrates a lack of professional judgment and a failure to uphold the duty of care owed to others on the road. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with identifying the legal requirements and then assessing the environmental conditions. When faced with a conflict between schedule pressure and safety/legal mandates, the safety and legal requirements must always take precedence. This involves a conscious decision to prioritize compliance and risk mitigation, even if it means communicating potential delays to dispatch or customer. Question 9. The efficiency study reveals that a commercial driver operating a tractor-trailer has begun to experience noticeable blurriness in their vision, particularly when looking at distant road signs and other vehicles. The driver feels they can still manage to operate the vehicle safely for the remainder of their route, which is approximately 2 hours from their destination. What is the most appropriate and legally compliant course of action for the driver in this situation? Option A. Attempt to adjust driving techniques such as increasing following distance to compensate for the perceived vision impairment. Option B. Continue driving to the destination, assuming the vision issue is temporary and will resolve on its own. Option C. Immediately pull over to a safe location and cease all CMV operation until a professional vision examination can be completed. Option D. Drive to the nearest truck stop and purchase over-the-counter reading glasses, hoping they will improve distant vision. The correct answer is C. Immediately pull over to a safe location and cease all CMV operation until a professional vision examination can be completed. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires a commercial driver to make a judgment call regarding their own physical capabilities in relation to safety regulations. The driver's perception of their vision might differ from objective medical standards, creating a conflict between personal comfort and regulatory compliance. The core of the challenge lies in prioritizing public safety over personal convenience or potential job impact. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach is to immediately cease operating the commercial vehicle and seek professional medical evaluation for vision. This aligns directly with the U.S. Department of Transportation Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, FMCSR, specifically 49 CFR Section 391, 41B, 10, which mandates that a driver must have distant visual acuity of at least 20/40 in each eye without corrective lenses or in each eye with the use of corrective lenses. Furthermore, 49 CFR Section 391, 43 outlines the medical examination requirements, emphasizing the need for drivers to meet these vision standards. By stopping and seeking evaluation, the driver is adhering to the principle of ensuring their physical condition does not compromise the safety of themselves, their cargo, or other road users, which is the paramount ethical and regulatory obligation of a CDL holder. Incorrect approaches analysis. Continuing to drive without addressing the perceived vision issue is a direct violation of 49 CFR Section 391, 41B, 10. This failure to meet the minimum vision standards, even if perceived, creates an immediate safety hazard. Ethically, it demonstrates a disregard for the well-being of others on the road. Assuming the vision issue is minor and will resolve on its own without professional assessment is also a regulatory and ethical failure. The FMCSR do not allow for subjective interpretation of vision standards while operating a CMV. The regulations require objective confirmation of meeting the standards. This approach prioritizes expediency over safety. Attempting to self-correct the vision issue without a proper medical diagnosis or prescription from a licensed eye care professional is dangerous and non-compliant. This could lead to improper corrective measures that might not meet the DOT standards or could even exacerbate the problem. It bypasses the established regulatory process for ensuring medical fitness to drive. Professional reasoning. Commercial drivers must operate under a strict framework of safety regulations designed to protect the public. When a driver experiences any physical condition that could impair their ability to operate a CMV safely, the immediate and only responsible action is to stop driving and seek professional medical evaluation. This decision-making process should prioritize regulatory compliance and public safety above all else. Drivers should be trained to recognize potential safety impairments and understand the reporting and evaluation procedures mandated by the FMCSR. The principle of when in doubt, stop is a critical component of safe commercial driving. Question 10. The risk matrix shows a high probability of hydroplaning due to recent heavy rainfall and a moderate probability of sudden braking by vehicles ahead due to congestion. You are approaching a section of highway with standing water and slowing traffic. What is the most appropriate immediate action to take to mitigate potential hazards? Option A. Immediately apply brakes firmly to create a larger buffer zone. Option B. Gradually reduce speed and increase following distance, preparing to brake smoothly if necessary. Option C. Maintain current speed to avoid disrupting traffic flow and trust other drivers to manage their speed. Option D. Honk your horn to alert drivers ahead of your presence and potential issues. Correct answer is B. Gradually reduce speed and increase following distance, preparing to brake smoothly if necessary. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a commercial driver to make a critical judgment call under dynamic and potentially hazardous conditions, balancing the need for timely delivery with the absolute priority of safety. The driver must interpret complex, real-time environmental and traffic data to predict future events and act proactively. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it aligns directly with the core principles of safe commercial driving as mandated by the Commercial Driver's License, CDL, General Knowledge Framework. This framework emphasizes defensive driving, hazard perception, and the driver's responsibility to operate their vehicle safely at all times, regardless of external pressures. Specifically, anticipating a potential hazard by adjusting speed and position based on observed conditions demonstrates a commitment to preventing accidents, which is a fundamental regulatory and ethical obligation. This proactive stance minimizes the risk of collisions and ensures compliance with regulations that require drivers to maintain control of their vehicle and be prepared for unexpected events. An incorrect approach that involves continuing at the current speed without adjusting for the observed conditions fails to meet the regulatory requirement of maintaining a safe operating speed and being aware of the surroundings. This demonstrates a lack of hazard anticipation and a disregard for the potential for sudden changes in road conditions or traffic behavior. Ethically, it prioritizes expediency over safety, which is unacceptable for a CDL holder. Another incorrect approach, such as immediately braking hard without assessing the full situation or other traffic, could create a new hazard. This impulsive reaction, while stemming from a desire to avoid a perceived danger, can lead to rear-end collisions or loss of control, violating the principle of safe and controlled vehicle operation. It shows a failure to apply a systematic hazard assessment process. A further incorrect approach, such as assuming other drivers will react predictably or that the situation will resolve itself, represents a dangerous oversimplification and a failure to account for the inherent unpredictability of traffic. This passive approach neglects the driver's active role in hazard management and can lead to being caught unprepared when a hazard materializes. It is a direct contravention of the CDL's emphasis on constant vigilance and proactive hazard mitigation. The professional decision-making process for similar situations involves a continuous cycle of observation, anticipation, and action. Drivers should constantly scan their environment, identify potential hazards, e.g., changes in road surface, erratic driver behavior, weather shifts, predict how these hazards might develop, and then take appropriate action to maintain a safe margin of safety. This includes adjusting speed, changing lane position, increasing following distance, or preparing to stop. The ultimate goal is always to prevent a situation from becoming an emergency. Question 11. Market research demonstrates that many commercial drivers face pressure to depart quickly, sometimes leading to shortcuts in vehicle safety checks. A driver notices a slight wobble in the steering wheel during a pre-trip inspection, but the dispatcher is urgently requesting departure for a time-sensitive delivery. The driver has also been informed that the truck was recently serviced. Considering the regulatory framework for commercial driver's license general knowledge, which of the following actions best upholds professional responsibility and regulatory compliance? Option A. Focus only on the steering system, attempting a quick adjustment or tightening of components to resolve the wobble before departing, without completing the rest of the inspection. Option B. Perform a complete pre-trip inspection, thoroughly investigating the steering wobble and ensuring all other critical components are in safe operating condition before departing. Option C. Inform the dispatcher about the wobble and ask if they can authorize a departure with a note to have it checked at the next stop, proceeding with the delivery. Option D. Proceed with the delivery after a quick visual check, assuming the recent service addressed any potential issues and the wobble is minor. The correct answer is D. Proceed with the delivery after a quick visual check, assuming the recent service addressed any potential issues and the wobble is minor. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge for commercial drivers, balancing the immediate pressure to depart with the non-negotiable requirement for a thorough pre-trip inspection. The driver's awareness of a potential issue, coupled with the dispatcher's urgency, creates a conflict between operational efficiency and safety compliance. Professional judgment is required to prioritize safety regulations over perceived time constraints. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves performing a complete pre-trip inspection as mandated by federal regulations, specifically the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, FMCSR, Part 396, which outlines the requirements for vehicle condition, a ND Hebrew Pe Hebrew Kuf. This includes a systematic check of all critical components such as brakes, tires, lights, steering, and coupling devices. This approach represents best professional practice because it directly adheres to the law, ensuring the vehicle is safe for operation and preventing potential accidents, injuries, and costly violations. It upholds the driver's responsibility to operate a safe vehicle and protects the public. Incorrect approach is analysis. One incorrect approach is to perform a cursory or incomplete inspection, focusing only on obvious issues or those mentioned by the dispatcher. This is a direct violation of FMCSR Part 396, which requires a comprehensive inspection. Ethically, it demonstrates a disregard for the safety of the driver, other road users, and the cargo. This approach creates significant legal and financial risks, including fines, out-of-service orders, and potential liability in case of an accident. Another incorrect approach is to rely solely on the dispatcher's assurance that the vehicle is fine, or to assume that because the truck was recently serviced, it doesn't need a full inspection. This abdicates the driver's personal responsibility for vehicle safety, which is a core tenet of commercial driving. Regulations place the ultimate responsibility on the driver to ensure the vehicle is safe before operating it. This approach is also ethically questionable, as it prioritizes expediency over safety. A third incorrect approach is to attempt to fix a minor issue without properly documenting it or ensuring it is fully resolved according to safety standards. While proactive problem-solving is good, it must be done within the framework of the required inspection process. Failing to complete the full inspection after addressing a perceived issue means the driver hasn't verified the condition of all other critical components, leading to potential undiscovered safety defects. Professional reasoning. Commercial drivers must adopt a proactive and diligent approach to vehicle inspections. The decision-making process should always begin with a clear understanding of regulatory requirements, FMCSR Part 396. When faced with time pressures or external influences, drivers should 1. Prioritize safety and regulatory compliance above all else. 2. Conduct the full pre-trip inspection systematically, using a checklist if necessary. 3. Document all findings, including any defects and repairs. 4. Communicate any identified issues and their resolution clearly with dispatch and maintenance. 5. Never operate a vehicle if there is any doubt about its safety or compliance. This systematic approach ensures legal adherence, ethical conduct, and the highest level of safety. Question 12. Compliance review shows a commercial driver operating a vehicle equipped with an automatic transmission approaching a long, steep downgrade. The driver is concerned about maintaining control and preventing brake fade. Which action best demonstrates an understanding of the limitations of automatic transmissions in this situation? Option A. Accelerating slightly to build momentum before the descent. Option B. Shifting the transmission to a lower gear manually to utilize engine braking. Option C. Applying the service brakes intermittently to control speed. Option D. Maintaining the current gear and relying on the automatic transmission to manage speed. The correct answer is B. Shifting the transmission to a lower gear manually to utilize engine braking. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a commercial driver to recognize the inherent limitations of an automatic transmission in a situation where precise control and sustained power are critical for safety. Relying solely on the automatic transmission's default programming can lead to dangerous situations, particularly on steep inclines or declines, or when needing to maintain a specific speed for extended periods. The driver's judgment must supersede the transmission's automatic functions when safety is compromised. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it demonstrates an understanding of vehicle dynamics and the specific limitations of automatic transmissions in commercial vehicles, as implicitly covered by the general knowledge required for a commercial driver's license, CDL. Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, FMCSR, emphasize the driver's responsibility for safe operation, which includes understanding and managing their vehicle's capabilities and limitations. Selecting a lower gear manually allows the driver to control engine braking on descents, preventing brake overheating and loss of control, and to maintain adequate power and torque on ascents, avoiding stalling or excessive strain on the drivetrain. This proactive management aligns with the CDL's emphasis on defensive driving and hazard avoidance. An incorrect approach that relies solely on the automatic transmission's default settings in such conditions fails to meet the driver's responsibility for safe operation. This oversight could be considered a failure to exercise due care, potentially violating FMCSR related to safe driving practices. Specifically, not utilizing manual gear selection when descending a steep grade could lead to brake failure, a direct violation of regulations concerning vehicle condition and safe operation. Similarly, on an ascent, failing to select a lower gear could result in engine lugging, excessive wear, or loss of momentum, all of which increase the risk of an incident. Professionals should employ a decision-making process that involves 1. Assessing the road conditions, grade, length, weather. 2. Understanding the vehicle's capabilities and limitations, especially transmission type. 3. Anticipating potential hazards, loss of control, overheating brakes, stalling. And 4. Proactively selecting the appropriate gear to mitigate these risks, even if it means overriding the automatic transmission's default selection. This proactive, risk management approach is fundamental to safe commercial driving. Question 13. Benchmark analysis indicates that effective mirror usage is a critical component of safe commercial vehicle operation. Considering the dynamic nature of road conditions and traffic, which of the following mirror checking strategies best aligns with regulatory requirements and professional best practices for a commercial driver? Option A. Glancing at mirrors only when feeling a vibration or hearing an unusual noise from the vehicle or surrounding traffic. Option B. Regularly and systematically checking all mirrors, side and rear view, at appropriate intervals throughout the driving process. Option C. Looking at mirrors exclusively when stopped at a traffic light or stop sign. Option D. Checking mirrors only when a lane change is planned or initiated. The correct answer is D. Checking mirrors only when a lane change is planned or initiated. Explanation: scenario analysis. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a driver to constantly balance immediate driving tasks with proactive safety measures. The challenge lies in anticipating potential hazards that are not yet visible but could become a threat, necessitating a proactive rather than reactive approach to mirror usage. Effective mirror checking is a continuous habit, not an occasional action, and its absence can lead to critical safety failures. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach, which involves regularly and systematically checking all mirrors, side and rear view, at appropriate intervals, represents best professional practice. This aligns directly with the U.S. Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, FMCSA regulations, specifically 49 CFR Section 392(2), which mandates that drivers operate their vehicles in a safe manner and be constantly aware of their surroundings. This proactive mirror usage allows the driver to monitor blind spots, track other vehicles, and anticipate lane changes or other maneuvers by other road users, thereby preventing potential collisions and ensuring compliance with safe driving standards. Incorrect approaches analysis. Checking mirrors only when a lane change is imminent is a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This reactive approach violates 49 CFR Section 392(2) by failing to maintain constant awareness of surroundings. It creates a dangerous blind spot in the driver's perception, increasing the risk of sideswiping another vehicle or failing to see a vehicle that has rapidly approached the blind spot. Glancing at mirrors only when feeling a vibration or hearing a noise is also a failure. This approach is entirely reactive and relies on external cues that may only appear when a hazard is already very close or has occurred. It neglects the proactive monitoring required by safe driving practices and FMCSA regulations, leaving the driver unprepared for potential dangers and increasing the likelihood of an accident. Looking at mirrors only when stopped at a traffic light is insufficient. While mirrors should be checked at stops, this limited scope fails to address the dynamic nature of driving. The FMCSA emphasis on safe operation implies continuous vigilance. Relying solely on mirror checks at stops means the driver is not monitoring traffic flow, potential hazards, or the actions of other vehicles while the vehicle is in motion, which is the primary period of risk. Professional reasoning. Professionals in commercial driving must adopt a defensive driving mindset. This involves a systematic approach to situational awareness, where mirror checks are an integral and continuous part of the driving process. The decision-making process should prioritize proactive hazard identification. This means establishing a routine of checking mirrors every 5-8 seconds, before and during lane changes, before braking, and when approaching intersections or other potential conflict points. This habit, ingrained through training and practice, ensures that the driver has the most up-to-date information about their surroundings, enabling them to make safe and informed decisions, thereby upholding their professional responsibility and regulatory obligations. Question 14. The risk matrix shows a high probability of hydroplaning due to heavy rainfall and standing water on the highway. The posted speed limit is 65 mph. The driver is operating a commercial vehicle and is concerned about making their delivery on time. What is the safest and most legally compliant course of action for the driver? Option A. Maintain the posted speed limit of 65 mph, assuming the vehicle's tires are designed for wet conditions. Option B. Reduce speed significantly below the posted limit to a speed that allows for safe traction and control, even if it means a delay. Option C. Drive at the posted speed limit but be prepared to brake hard if hydroplaning begins. Option D. Increase speed slightly above the posted limit to try and outrun the standing water before hydroplaning occurs. The correct answer is B. Reduce speed significantly below the posted limit to a speed that allows for safe traction and control, even if it means a delay. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a commercial driver to balance the immediate need to maintain a schedule with the paramount responsibility of ensuring public safety. The driver must exercise sound judgment in interpreting and reacting to dynamic environmental conditions that may not be explicitly accounted for by static posted speed limits. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes safety and regulatory compliance above all else. Adhering to the principle of reducing speed when conditions warrant, even if it means exceeding the posted limit, is a fundamental tenet of safe commercial driving. This aligns with the spirit and intent of all traffic laws, which are designed to prevent accidents, specifically Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, FMCSR, in the U.S., under 49 CFR Section 392. 14. Mandate that drivers must operate their vehicles at a speed that is safe for the prevailing conditions, regardless of posted limits. This regulation underscores the driver's personal responsibility to assess and react to hazards. An incorrect approach that involves maintaining the posted speed limit despite adverse conditions is a direct violation of FMCSR Section 392. 14. This failure is not merely a technical infraction but a significant ethical lapse, as it demonstrates a disregard for the safety of other road users and the driver's own well-being. Prioritizes expediency over responsibility. Another incorrect approach, that of exceeding the posted speed limit without a clear, overriding safety justification, such as an emergency requiring immediate evasive action, is also a violation of speed limit laws and FMCSR Section 392. 14. As it increases the risk of losing control and reduces reaction time. This approach is driven by a disregard for established safety parameters. Professional reasoning in such situations involves a continuous risk assessment. The driver should first consider the posted speed limit as the maximum safe speed under ideal conditions. Then they must evaluate current conditions, whether rain, fog, snow, ice, road surface, wet, icy, gravel, visibility, traffic density, and the presence of pedestrians or other vulnerable road users. If any of these factors reduce the margin of safety below that provided by the posted speed limit, the driver has a regulatory and ethical obligation to reduce speed accordingly. This decision-making process is proactive, prioritizing hazard identification and mitigation. Question 15. Assessment of a commercial driver's response to encountering dense fog on a highway, where visibility is reduced to approximately 50 feet. Which action best adheres to regulatory requirements for safe operation? Option A. Increase speed slightly to try and outrun the fog before it becomes more severe. Option B. Maintain the current speed, assuming it is within the posted speed limit, as visibility is still sufficient to see the road ahead. Option C. Continue at the posted speed limit, as fog is a natural condition and does not necessitate a change in speed if the limit is followed. Option D. Reduce speed significantly to a level that allows for adequate stopping distance and reaction time given the limited visibility. The correct answer is D. Reduce speed significantly to a level that allows for adequate stopping distance and reaction time given the limited visibility. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario is professionally challenging because reduced visibility, such as fog or heavy rain, significantly impairs a commercial driver's ability to perceive hazards, judge distances, and react safely. The inherent responsibility of operating a large, heavy vehicle amplifies the risk. Drivers must proactively manage their speed to maintain adequate stopping distance and reaction time, which is a critical safety imperative under all driving conditions, but especially when visibility is compromised. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach is to reduce speed significantly to compensate for reduced visibility. This aligns directly with U.S. Department of Transportation, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, FMCSA, regulations, specifically 49 CFR Section 392(14), which mandates that a driver shall not drive a commercial motor vehicle when his or her vision is obscured by any condition that prevents him/her from safely operating the vehicle. Reducing speed is the primary and most effective method to ensure safe operation under such conditions. It provides the necessary time to perceive potential hazards, such as stopped vehicles, pedestrians, or debris, and to react by braking or maneuvering to avoid a collision. This proactive measure is a cornerstone of defensive driving and regulatory compliance for commercial drivers. Incorrect approach is analysis. Driving at the posted speed limit, even if it is a reasonable speed under normal conditions, is an incorrect approach because it fails to account for the specific hazard of reduced visibility. Regulatory failure occurs because the driver is not exercising the necessary caution to ensure safe operation, violating the spirit and letter of 49 CFR Section 392(14). Ethically, it demonstrates a disregard for the safety of others on the road. Increasing speed to beat the fog or to maintain a schedule is a critically incorrect approach. This directly contradicts the principle of adjusting speed for conditions and is a severe violation of 49 CFR Section 392(14). It is not only a regulatory failure, but also an egregious ethical lapse, prioritizing personal convenience or schedule over the safety of the public and the driver. Maintaining the current speed without any adjustment is also incorrect. While not actively increasing speed, failing to reduce it when visibility is compromised means the driver is not adapting to the hazardous conditions. This is a passive violation of the duty to operate safely under 49 CFR Section 392(14), as the vehicle's speed is no longer appropriate for the reduced perception capabilities. Professional reasoning. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that prioritizes safety and regulatory compliance. When faced with reduced visibility, the immediate thought process should be, what is the safest speed for these conditions? This involves assessing the degree of visibility reduction and determining a speed that allows for adequate stopping distance and reaction time. This decision should be made proactively, not reactively. If the visibility is so poor that even a reduced speed does not feel safe, the professional decision is to pull over and wait for conditions to improve, as mandated by the overarching principle of safe operation. This framework emphasizes continuous assessment of conditions and a commitment to operating the vehicle only when it can be done safely. Question 16. Comparative studies suggest that when navigating a sharp, winding curve in a commercial vehicle, a driver's steering technique significantly impacts vehicle control and safety. Considering the principles of safe commercial vehicle operation, which steering technique best aligns with regulatory expectations for maintaining lane position and preventing hazardous maneuvers? Option A. Holding the steering wheel with one hand at the bottom, allowing the wheel to spin freely with minimal input. Option B. Maintaining a relaxed grip on the steering wheel, utilizing a smooth hand-over-hand motion with hands positioned around the 9 and 3 o'clock positions, and making gradual, deliberate adjustments to follow the curve. Option C. Using a death grip on the steering wheel, with hands placed at the 10 and 2 o'clock positions, and making abrupt, overcorrective steering inputs. Option D. Gripping the steering wheel tightly with both hands at the top, making quick, sharp turns to follow the road's contour. The correct answer is B. Maintaining a relaxed grip on the steering wheel, utilizing a smooth hand-over-hand motion with hands positioned around the 9 and 3 o'clock positions, and making gradual, deliberate adjustments to follow the curve. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge for commercial drivers, navigating a tight, winding road with a large vehicle. The professional challenge lies in maintaining control and safety while executing precise steering maneuvers. Oversteering or understeering can lead to lane departure, striking roadside objects, or even rollovers, all of which carry significant safety and regulatory implications. The driver must balance the need for responsiveness with the inertia and size of the commercial vehicle. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach, employing a smooth, controlled hand-over-hand steering technique with a relaxed grip and proper hand positioning, typically between 9 and 3 o'clock, allows for precise adjustments without overcorrection. This method ensures the vehicle follows the intended path with minimal oscillation, directly aligning with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, FMCSA, Part 392. 2, which mandates that drivers operate their vehicles safely and in a manner that does not endanger themselves or others. Smooth steering minimizes stress on the vehicle's components and the driver, contributing to fatigue management, another key aspect of safe operation under FMCSA regulations. Incorrect approaches analysis. An approach characterized by a death grip on the steering wheel and jerky, abrupt movements is problematic. This death grip indicates tension and a lack of confidence, leading to oversteering. Oversteering causes the vehicle to swerve excessively, increasing the risk of striking the shoulder, oncoming traffic, or roadside obstacles, violating FMCSA Part 392. 2. Jerky movements also transmit unnecessary forces to the steering system and can destabilize the vehicle, especially a heavy commercial truck. Another incorrect approach involves holding the steering wheel at the very top or bottom, or using only one hand in a static position. Holding the wheel at the top or bottom limits the range of motion and fine-tuning capability, potentially leading to delayed or insufficient corrections. Static one-handed steering, especially in a turn, reduces control and the ability to react quickly to unexpected changes, both of which are critical for safe operation and are implicitly covered by the general duty of care required by FMCSA regulations. This can also lead to fatigue and reduced situational awareness. Professional reasoning. Professionals must prioritize a proactive and controlled approach to steering. This involves anticipating the road ahead, understanding the vehicle's dynamics, and practicing smooth, deliberate steering inputs. The decision-making process should involve continuous assessment of the road curvature, vehicle speed, and vehicle load. When faced with a tight turn, the driver should visualize the path the vehicle will take, mentally rehearse the steering inputs, and execute them smoothly. If an error is made, the correction should be equally smooth and deliberate, avoiding overcompensation. This systematic approach ensures compliance with safety regulations and promotes efficient, safe driving. Question 17. The efficiency study reveals that a commercial truck driver is operating at a speed that, according to standard charts, would require a significantly longer stopping distance than the current clear distance to the vehicle ahead. The driver observes that the road surface is dry and the truck's brakes are in good working order. The driver is concerned about maintaining their schedule, but also about safety. Which of the following actions best demonstrates adherence to safe commercial driving principles and regulatory expectations? Option A. Maintain the current speed and rely on the truck's braking system to stop if necessary, as the brakes are in good condition. Option B. Continue at the current speed, assuming that the charts are overly conservative for dry conditions and well-maintained brakes. Option C. Reduce speed and increase the following distance to create a larger safety margin. Option D. Immediately apply the brakes forcefully to stop as quickly as possible, regardless of the traffic behind. The correct answer is A. Maintain the current speed and rely on the truck's braking system to stop if necessary, as the brakes are in good condition. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a driver to apply theoretical knowledge about speed and stopping distance to a real-world dynamic situation where immediate decisions have safety implications. The driver must not only understand the relationship between speed and stopping distance, but also anticipate how environmental factors and vehicle condition will influence it. Careful judgment is required to select the safest course of action, prioritizing the prevention of accidents over adherence to a potentially unsafe speed. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it directly aligns with the core principles of safe commercial driving as mandated by the Commercial Driver's License, CDL, General Knowledge Regulations. These regulations emphasize defensive driving, maintaining safe following distances, and adjusting speed to conditions. By choosing to reduce speed and increase following distance, the driver is proactively mitigating risk, demonstrating an understanding that higher speeds significantly increase stopping distances, thereby reducing the margin for error and increasing the likelihood of a collision if an unexpected event occurs. This action is a direct application of the principle that stopping distance is not linear with speed, but increases exponentially, a fundamental concept in safe driving. An incorrect approach that involves maintaining speed and relying solely on the vehicle's braking system fails to acknowledge the exponential increase in stopping distance with speed. This is a regulatory failure because it disregards the explicit or implicit requirement to drive at a speed that allows for safe stopping within the driver's line of sight and under prevailing conditions. Ethically, it demonstrates a lack of due care and responsibility for the safety of oneself, other road users, and the cargo. Another incorrect approach, such as braking abruptly without considering the following traffic, poses a different set of risks. While it might reduce the immediate stopping distance, it creates a hazard for vehicles behind, potentially leading to a rear-end collision. This is a regulatory failure as it violates the principle of predictable and safe driving behavior, and it is ethically irresponsible due to the increased risk imposed on others. The professional reasoning process for similar situations should involve a continuous assessment of the driving environment. This includes constantly evaluating speed relative to road conditions, visibility, traffic density, and the distance to the vehicle ahead. When faced with a situation where the relationship between current speed and potential stopping distance becomes uncertain or potentially unsafe, the immediate and primary response should be to reduce speed and increase following distance. This creates a larger buffer zone, allowing more time to react to hazards and ensuring that the vehicle can be stopped safely if necessary, in accordance with safe driving practices and regulatory expectations. Question 18. To address the challenge of maintaining safe and efficient operation on varied terrain with a loaded commercial vehicle, what is the most appropriate gear selection strategy when approaching a steep downgrade after a level stretch? Option A. Shift into the highest possible gear to allow the vehicle to coast freely down the grade. Option B. Downshift only when the speed becomes unmanageable, relying on the engine to slow the vehicle. Option C. Maintain the current gear and use the service brakes intermittently to control speed. Option D. Select a lower gear than would be used on a level stretch to control speed without relying solely on brakes. The correct answer is D. Select a lower gear than would be used on a level stretch to control speed without relying solely on brakes. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because selecting the correct gear in a commercial vehicle requires a dynamic assessment of multiple, often conflicting factors. Drivers must balance the need for sufficient power to maintain momentum with the risk of excessive engine strain or fuel inefficiency. Road conditions, such as inclines, declines, and surface traction, introduce further complexity, demanding constant vigilance and predictive judgment. The load's weight directly impacts the engine's ability to maintain speed, necessitating a more aggressive gear selection on ascents and a more cautious approach on descents to prevent runaway situations. Failure to select appropriate gears can lead to safety hazards, including loss of control, increased braking wear, and potential mechanical damage, all of which have significant regulatory and operational implications. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes safety and compliance with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, FMCSR. Specifically, selecting a gear that allows the vehicle to maintain a safe speed without over-revving the engine or lugging, it demonstrates an understanding of the principles of vehicle control and mechanical sympathy. This proactive gear selection minimizes the need for excessive braking on descents, reducing wear and the risk of brake fade, and ensures adequate power for ascents, preventing stalls or dangerous slowdowns. Adhering to these principles aligns with the FMCSRS overarching goal of ensuring the safe operation of commercial motor vehicles. An incorrect approach of staying in a single, high gear, regardless of the incline or load, is a regulatory failure. This demonstrates a lack of understanding of vehicle dynamics and the potential for mechanical stress, which can lead to unsafe operating conditions. It also violates the implicit requirement to operate the vehicle in a manner that maintains control and prevents hazards. Another incorrect approach, such as downshifting too late on a steep descent, creates a significant safety risk by relying heavily on brakes, potentially leading to brake failure and loss of control, a direct violation of safe driving practices mandated by the FMCSR. Furthermore, selecting a gear that causes the engine to over-rev on a decline, even if it feels like it's maintaining speed, can cause mechanical damage and is an inefficient and potentially unsafe practice, indicating a failure to exercise due care and judgment. Professional decision-making in such situations involves a continuous mental checklist. Assess the road ahead, grade, curves, surface, consider the vehicle's load and current speed, and anticipate the engine's power and braking capabilities. This predictive approach allows for smooth, timely gear changes that optimize performance, fuel economy, and most importantly, safety, in accordance with the FMCSR. Question 19. System analysis indicates a commercial driver is approaching a stretch of highway where heavy rain has begun to fall, significantly reducing visibility and making the road surface slick. The posted speed limit is 65 mph. What is the most appropriate course of action for the driver to ensure safety? Option A. Maintain the posted speed limit as the vehicle is equipped with modern safety features. Option B. Increase speed slightly to outrun the heaviest part of the rain. Option C. Rely on the vehicle's electronic stability control to manage the conditions. Option D. Significantly reduce speed, increase following distance, and actively scan the road for hazards. The correct answer is D. Significantly reduce speed, increase following distance, and actively scan the road for hazards. Explanation. This scenario presents a common challenge for commercial drivers, navigating adverse weather conditions that significantly impact vehicle control and visibility. The professional challenge lies in balancing the need to maintain a schedule with the paramount responsibility of ensuring safety for oneself, other road users, and the cargo. The driver must exercise sound judgment and proactively adapt their driving behavior to mitigate the increased risks associated with reduced traction and visibility. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it directly addresses the increased hazards posed by the conditions. Reducing speed is a fundamental safety measure that provides more time to react to unexpected events, increases tire traction on slippery surfaces, and allows for safer braking and steering. Maintaining a safe following distance is equally critical, as stopping distances are significantly longer in wet or icy conditions. Actively scanning the road ahead and being prepared to adjust to changing conditions demonstrates a commitment to defensive driving, which is a core tenet of safe commercial vehicle operation. This approach aligns with the general principles of safe driving and the specific requirements of commercial driver regulations that mandate operating a vehicle in a manner that ensures safety under all conditions. An incorrect approach that involves maintaining the posted speed limit without adjustment fails to acknowledge the increased risks. This is a regulatory failure because it violates the implicit and often explicit requirement to operate a vehicle safely, which includes adjusting speed for conditions. Ethically, it demonstrates a disregard for the safety of others. Another incorrect approach, such as relying solely on the vehicle's anti-lock braking system (ABS) without reducing speed, is also a failure. While ABS is a valuable safety feature, it does not negate the physics of reduced traction. It merely helps maintain steering control during braking. Over-reliance on technology without adapting driving behavior is a common pitfall and a failure to exercise professional judgment. Finally, an approach that involves aggressive acceleration and braking to power through the conditions is extremely dangerous and a clear violation of safe driving practices and regulations. This demonstrates a lack of understanding of vehicle dynamics and a reckless disregard for safety. Professional decision-making in such situations requires a proactive and risk-averse mindset. Drivers should constantly assess the current and anticipated road and weather conditions. They must then translate this assessment into concrete action, such as reducing speed, increasing following distance, and ensuring proper tire inflation and tread depth. This involves a continuous feedback loop. Observe, assess, act, and reassess. The driver's primary responsibility is always safety, and this supersedes any pressure to maintain a schedule. Question 20. The performance metrics show a consistent pattern of drivers reporting minor vehicle issues, such as a slightly loose mirror or a faint brake squeal, to dispatch only after completing their routes, often leading to delayed maintenance. Considering the commercial driver's license general knowledge requirements for pre-trip inspections and reporting, what is the most appropriate communication strategy for a driver encountering such an issue during their pre-trip inspection? Option A. Immediately report the issue to dispatch, providing specific details about the observation and awaiting further instructions before proceeding with the trip. Option B. Attempt to make a minor adjustment to the mirror or listen more closely for the brake squeal to determine if it's a significant problem before reporting. Option C. Inform other drivers at the truck stop about the issue to get their opinions on whether it needs immediate attention. Option D. Document the issue in the logbook and address it during the next scheduled maintenance appointment to avoid delaying the current trip. The correct answer is D. Document the issue in the logbook and address it during the next scheduled maintenance appointment to avoid delaying the current trip. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a driver to balance immediate operational needs with the long-term safety and compliance requirements mandated by the Commercial Driver's License, CDL, General Knowledge Regulations. The driver must make a judgment call that could impact delivery schedules while also upholding their responsibility to operate safely and legally. Careful consideration of communication protocols and regulatory obligations is paramount. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes clear, documented communication with the appropriate authority, which aligns with the CDL General Knowledge Framework's emphasis on safety and regulatory adherence. By informing dispatch and following their guidance, the driver ensures that any deviation from the planned route or schedule is officially sanctioned and recorded, minimizing personal liability and maintaining operational integrity. This proactive communication also allows for a coordinated response to unexpected situations, such as mechanical issues or traffic delays, which is a core tenet of safe commercial driving. An incorrect approach that involves proceeding without authorization fails to meet the regulatory requirement for proper communication and decision-making. This could lead to violations of driving hours regulations, improper load handling, or operating a vehicle in an unsafe condition, all of which are directly addressed in CDL General Knowledge training. Another incorrect approach, such as attempting to diagnose and fix a complex mechanical issue independently without proper training or authorization, poses a significant safety risk and violates the principle of operating a commercial vehicle only when it is in safe operating condition. This also bypasses established company procedures for maintenance and repair, which are designed to ensure compliance and safety. Professionals should use a decision-making framework that begins with assessing the situation against regulatory requirements and company policy. If an immediate safety concern arises, the driver's primary responsibility is to ensure the safety of themselves, the public, and the vehicle. This is followed by clear and concise communication with dispatch or their supervisor, providing all necessary details. The driver should then follow the instructions provided by their supervisor, ensuring that all actions taken are documented and compliant with CDL General Knowledge standards.